So thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's kind of part 2 of the series around course selection. I know that there have been some recent announcements about reopening schools, but we're going to keep the conversation today focused entirely on hearing from our students at Paly, about what some of the courses that they've done, some of the programs that they've participated in that have made their experience at Paly truly special. So I'm really, really appreciative to have them here. If you have questions, you to send them to palyfaq@gmail.com. I will put that in chat. We will be working on upcoming sessions to address those questions, as well as putting an FAQ together to get the answers to questions that are on everybody's mind about what that reopening looks like. So I'll put that in the chat in just a second. With that, I wanted to kind of introduce first our panelists today. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think 7 or 8 of you. So I think I'm going to just go down the list of the people I see here. And maybe first, if you could unmute yourselves, the panelists, and just share a very quick introduction of yourselves, what level you're in, what are some of the things that you've been doing. And then I'll moderate and I'll kind of direct some questions on a topic by topic basis. So audience, please put your questions that you have for our panelists as we dig into the content and the topics in the Q&A, in the chat section. So with that, I will first turn to Avantika. Maybe you can introduce yourself and then tag somebody else.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Avantika. I'm a senior and I'm the ASB president. Is there anything else you'd like me to say, Charlie?
That's great.
Off to Maytha.
Hi everybody, my name is Maytha. I am also a senior and I'm in ASB as well as a school board rep, and I'm very happy to be here. I'll pass it on to Matthew.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm a junior. I'm the junior class president, and I will go ahead and pass it off to Sabrina.
Hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm a senior and I am the Spirit Commissioner on ASB. I'll pass it over to Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm the senior class president on ASB, and I also am kind of involved with music, and I did a little bit of theater too, so ask me about that. Joanna?
Hello, I'm Johanna. I'm a sophomore and I'm on ASB as a clubs commissioner. I have some experience being a freshman just overall, but also specifically in speech and debate, music and theater. So if you want to ask me about that, I'm open to it. Sorry, I'll pass it up to Anisha.
Hi, I'm Anisha. I'm a junior and I am pursuing the early childhood development pathway at Paly, and I'll pass it to Aru.
Hi, I'm Aru. I'm a junior and I'm on the school robotics team. Is that everyone? Cool.
Great, thank you so much. What I'd love to do is actually start with, some of the really fun things about Paly, and maybe we can dig into social justice. So I know that I have a couple of people here, Sabrina, Matthew, if you guys wanted to share a little bit about social justice and that pathway, what your experience has been.
I guess I can start us off. So I am a senior, so this is my 3rd and final year in the social justice pathway. And the way social justice works is that you start your sophomore year and you're basically with the same teachers and the same kids for the next 3 years up until your senior year. And it's a really different approach to the regular curriculum. You really focus on a lot of group projects and it's really project based, and you're also given a lot of freedom to pursue topics that you're interested in. And in your senior year, you get to do a research capstone project, which is what me and my fellow senior classmates are doing right now. And then maybe Matthew can go into more detail about like projects and stuff.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a junior, so this is my second year in SJP, and I absolutely love it. First of all, it has that like kind of school within a school feeling to it, where despite you being in the larger Paly community, you have these group of individuals that you've been spending years upon years with. And it really fosters this sense of community that I think that you couldn't get from just attending the larger school. Similarly to what Sabrina said, there is a lot of project hands-on collaborative learning. I know that the beginning of my sophomore year, um, we did it was like a C-SPAN research project, um, where it was like researching this matter of social inequity, and making this 5 to 6 minute documentary on that, which it was a lot of work. It was super fun. And then my junior year, we had this racial reckoning project, where it was looking at white supremacy in the context of the San Francisco Bay Area, and interviewing experts on it, and creating proposals as to how to change elements of it. And my group spoke at a city council meeting and then drafted another proposal as well. So yeah, I absolutely love it. If you're a student who loves that sort of collaborative, smaller group learning, and is willing to commit to it for the next couple of years, I think social justice pathway would be a very, very good option.
Okay, great. Thank you. Audience, I'm not seeing any particular questions about social justice, blah, blah. Let's see. No, so maybe after that, we'll move to journalism. If any of I think that kind of is a nice segue. And then after that, we'll get to Aru and robotics and some of the CS programs that we have here. So if you want to queue up some questions in chat, please let me know. But maybe, who are our journalism folks? I think Matthew, you were one of them. And I think there were one other person at least. But if you could talk about journalism, Avantika and Matthew, yeah. Avantika.
So I took beginning journalism as a junior, my first semester, which was, people say is kind of late. A lot of people take it their sophomore year, but I was taking ASB and a language, so I couldn't take it before that. I've always wanted to do journalism at Paly. We have a really strong journalism program here, and currently I'm writing on the Campanile, which has been like the best thing ever. It's honestly like so amazing. It's a little different being online this year. Like last year we had production in person, and it's like this whole community, and like you really like meet a ton of people across different grades. You guys stay up late until like 10 working on the newspaper, and then once you finish, it's like this whole big celebration, and it's really more about the community. And I also just love writing, and like I said, community wise, like writing stories is a lot of like reaching out to people, meeting new people in the community. So it's not even about like school community, it's about you like your whole like politics community, because you can meet so many people just through like interviews, writing stories. I've always like liked writing. I think journalism, like obviously just you have to like writing to like when you're in like while doing journalism, because otherwise like your heart won't be in it. But I will highly recommend it for anyone, like my personal experience, because like I've known kids who weren't like, they did it as an elective, they weren't really like, they didn't like love writing as much, but then now they've like loved it because of the whole like, once you're on a publication, it's like different, and it's all like student run, which is pretty amazing to see. Matthew, do you want to add to that, like your experience?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think Avantika probably knows more than I do. I'm in beginning journalism as a second semester junior, because I took AP seminar last year, which took up the space that I would take for beginning journalism. And yeah, I mean, it's a good class. I think I personally really enjoy writing, so I think it definitely helps with the class. You don't need to be the strongest writer in the world, but just kind of having those like foundational skills. And additionally, like journalistic writing is very different than that of your traditional essay writing. So maybe, if you have a student who doesn't exactly enjoy essay writing, that doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't enjoy journalism. And with all of the like different publications available, there is a different style of journalism for each student who wants to participate in the program.
Can you guys talk a little bit about what the entry point is for journalism? We also have some rising freshman families on the call today. So is this something that you need to jump into right away, or can you, I think Matthew, you mentioned you're starting journalism now as a junior. So tell us about that. What is the path to get involved in a publication, right?
Yeah, before you get involved into a publication, you need to take a semester of beginning journalism, and I think that's only offered your sophomore year and after. I do know some people who have like done very few people who I think have like done camps where like a journalism advisor will be there and then they'll ask them to join earlier. But that's been like one person in the last like I don't know how many years who's like that's happened to. Otherwise, generally you take beginning journalism and then you join a publication after a semester. And most people take it their sophomore year, like if they're getting involved in like publications. But like I said, like I took it my junior year, Matthew's taking it his junior year, so it should be totally fine if you take it later. I feel like I don't think that many people take it as seniors because by then you're like you only have a semester for a publication, but you can basically take it anytime sophomore year through junior year.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so May we see your comment that your biggest regret was not getting into it. Yes, we do have an outstanding journalism department. So I'll put a little plug out there for rising freshman families. There is a summer camp program called Camp Mac, which I believe absolutely has plans to run this summer. So take a look at that when that information comes out. Let's move on a little bit to the robotics and tech side of the house. I know Anisha took a PCSP, and Aru, you definitely lead the conversation there, but if any of the other panelists have anything to share around kind of our CS classes, the robotics team, the new engineering pathway, if we have any representation here at all around some of those classes, that'd be great. Aru.
Yeah, so our robotics team is actually kind of almost like a sports team. It's not a course, and there is like a selection process given the like limited resources and high number of applicants, but an opportunity that you can always get into at Paly is the engineering pathway. I believe it counts for CTE credit as well, and it starts with engineering design, and then if you want you can take it up to 3 years, like follow the pathway. And one thing about the robotics team though is that when you hear the word robotics, most people think heavy on technical and like designing and building. I'm personally on the hardware portion of the team, but you can also apply for business, which is grants and fundraising, and then there's design, which works on the actual design on a modeling software. Then there's a hardware portion which actually builds it. And then there's also like an art team which is in charge of branding. And then for CS courses, Paly offers a huge variety. And then I know a lot of people have prior experience with coding through summer camps or classes, so they accommodate for that. You can get into APCSA or Advanced Computer Science, or CS Principles, which requires like it's I think the only AP course at Paly, or one of the only AP courses at Paly that has no prerequisites. And then I see a question about the engineering pathway. Well, I haven't actually taken it, but I know a couple of people who have, and from my understanding, it's a UCD approved, sorry, yeah, I think a D approved course. And then what you do is you work on designing, and it's more theoretical but you do get to experience like building stuff. Usually in a in-person school year, they would spend their time in the wood shop at Paly. And there's other similar courses if you're inclined, like there's auto, which is when you get to work with cars if you're just really interested in tinkering around. Or if you're more interested in like the theoretical aspects of engineering, like physics, etc., then that relates to the engineering CTE pathway. Anisha, do you want to talk about your experience with computer science?
Yeah, I would say that APCS is the principles class is a pretty basic class, especially if you're just looking to get your CTE credit. It's pretty simple, but if you're looking more to go into actual advanced coding, then I would suggest doing that class and then moving on to the advanced computer science class, because APCSP doesn't really give you like a deep knowledge of coding. It just kind of works more with like block-based coding and programs like Scratch.
Great. Yeah, there were questions about the engineering pathway, and there was a new course that was really launched just this year. So the year 2021 in engineering design. And I think, unfortunately, none of our panelists are probably exposed to that course, because I think it was primarily for freshmen and sophomores. But I think there is growing momentum, I would say, at Paly. I know that there are no new additional courses being launched this coming school year, but again, we do have a fairly strong, very, very strong robotics team. Aru, I think you were humble about how successful our robotics team has been in the past, but we really do have a very strong team. I don't know if you want to make mention of what level we've reached.
Yeah, this past year, I think March 2020, we just, at our Utah regional, we just qualified for World Championships. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, all of that got canceled, but it would have been held at Houston. I think this is our second time in the last 15 years that we made it to World Championships, but I'd say I saw a question earlier, like a while earlier, also about time commitment for robotics. I would say like consider it almost like a varsity sports team level of commitment. Like during the build season, which typically runs like January to March, then they do have 120 total hours requirement. Like in those 3 months, you need to spend 120 of your own time. And then I think during the off season, you're only expected to show up like 6 hours per week. But yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of commitment, but I guess that's why there's also a bunch of other local teams that I think are slightly less selective, but I think the resources, like the lab that Paly has access to and the huge machines, I think that's one of the coolest things about the school. Like you wouldn't find that in other places.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I think I remember that you had some time constraints. So if you need to drop off, totally fine. Thank you so much. Let's move on a little to a bunch of questions about AAR and AP seminar breadth. So I'm trying to understand AP research, AP AAR, what all of that is, maybe people's individual experiences with that. And anybody want to go first, or should I cold call? Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, sure. So, I think it's going to be valuable to hear from a couple of people's experiences. I took AP seminar as a sophomore, so my experience is going to be a little bit different. I was a sophomore who had 8 classes. AP seminar for me was a difficult class. It was a very, very good class, but it was difficult. It was, yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest skill that you're going to need to have coming into it is time management. And if you don't have time management, then you're just going to have more and more work just stacking up on top of each other, and it's going to end up being, you working until like 4 a.m. to get an essay done. But I mean, the skills that I learned from it were so valuable. I honestly think it was one of the most useful, if not the most useful class I've ever taken at Paly. The teacher, Ms. Philpoo, is wonderful. And yeah, I mean, I think that the class is really for someone um, who because there are two aspects. There's the team aspect where you work together in a small group of about, it's like, I think it's 4 to 5 people to create a presentation about a research topic of your choice. And that is in addition to a 1,200 word essay, research essay that you write. And then there's the individual aspect, which is a individual presentation as well as a 2,000 word essay based off of a stimulus packet that's given at the beginning of the year. And again, so like you don't have to be the absolute strongest writer, but you really should have like a good foundational writing and analysis skills before coming into the class in order to be able to kind of move with the pace of the class, which is relatively fast. But yeah, I mean, I would say, because I think now the class is only open to juniors and seniors, which is honestly probably for the best. I would say, yeah, I mean, as long as you have good time management skills or the ability to develop good time management skills and are willing to devote yourself to the class, it's a wonderful class to take.
Can somebody talk to the difference, like AP Research? What is that compared to AP Seminar?
Yeah, so I'm in AP Research right now, and like Matthew, I took it my sophomore year, but it's now only open to juniors and seniors. And I actually TA'd for a seminar as well last year. I was Matthew's TA. But yeah, so I'm currently taking research. I think I talked about this a little before, but for social justice, we did a research project, and you can either choose to take AP Research or AAR. But if you want to take AP Research, the prereq is seminar, so you have to take it and pass the test, the AP test with at least a 3 to be able to take AP Research. And I definitely would say there is a big jump from seminar to research. In seminar, Matthew just said like you have to write a 1,200 word paper, like a lit review. And in AP Research, that's only one part of our paper. It's a 4,000 to 5,000 paper we write over the course of the school year. And that 1,200 word for us, we had in seminar, you would have about 3 months to write it. And for us, we had about like less than a month. And to be honest, I wrote it in one night. But but with AP Research, what's really different is you're actually conducting real research, and you have to pass a IRB, which is like an ethics review board. And this is the IRB for the PAUSD like district. And so then your research is actually considered in a larger field of study. And if you like falsify your research, you do have consequences. So I definitely say like it's almost as if like you're actually in the research world as opposed to just doing a lit review on sources, which is what seminar is. And the difference between research and AAR, I would say is, I think for AAR, they still do I didn't take AAR, but I think
we have some people
yeah.
here.
But yeah, I would definitely say like for research, it's like a bigger step. But if you take the time to actually like put effort into your work, and also the teacher is really great, and she has her doctorate, so she recently like went through the whole research process as well. So she's really able to help us through that.
And who's that teacher?
Miss Struve.
Can I just ask a quick question? So do AP Seminar or AP Research count towards your English or your social studies, or which one?
Yeah, so AP Seminar is, I think, actually recently it was approved for the English. I think it's C. I don't really remember the letter, but
So you
it's,
can take that instead of like AP Lang or AP Lit or something like that.
yeah.
It's your graduation requirement. Okay, great. Thank you.
And then research is, I think, just CTE.
Perfect. AAR, who here? I know Anisha. Okay, Anisha and then Avantika. Want to tell us?
Yeah,
what
so AAR is an 8th period class, and I saw a lot of questions about the timing. So currently right now, while we're in online school, it starts at 3:45, so about 40 minutes after school ends, and it's just an hour each day on Tuesday and Thursday. And I would say it's not as much work as a normal class because a lot of it is independent, and most of the in-class time is used on like working on your project by yourself. And AAR is like a class where you can really pick a topic and research further into it and conduct your own study on it. So if you're really interested in something and want to look further into it, then that's a great class to take. And it doesn't take as much time as a normal class. So you can really do it as like your 7th or 8th class.
Yeah, I also took 8th period AAR. As my junior year, I was taking 8 classes, and that was my 8th class. But like Anisha said, it's really independent, so it's really up to the student, I guess, on how much like time and effort they put into their project. I will say first semester, like I remember it being like way less work than second semester. It's not like second semester was like a ton of work, but it's like that's more of like the research part, and like first semester is like figuring it all out, so you can kind of just like cruise through first semester. I took it after school, which I feel like it's also offered like during school, but I feel like a lot of kids take it after school. The only like issue was I also like played a sport and I was doing journalism at the time, so I would have to like miss AAR to like do other things. And I know some kids who like are all like I only swim, but like some kids would do 3-season sports. They would like always be out for practice and always missing AAR. It's only Tuesdays and Thursdays. Like when we were in person, it was only Tuesdays and Thursdays for like a couple of minutes. But I just know like I had to miss a couple of times, like a lot actually, for like sports or something like that, or like a swim meet. And like I honestly felt like I went to the class more than like most students did. So I mean, it depends on like the student, I guess, because then like even if you're not going to like class as often, you have to like make up the work. It's like even more independent. And if you think your student needs more like direction with research, then like I definitely recommend doing it during like the school day.
Okay. There's some questions around kind of the workload between AAR and AP Seminar and the difference there. Would you guys have any recommendations on like what grades to try and do these things in? What, like, could you do AAR in sophomore year or?
Yeah, I know some people who did AP Seminar in sophomore year, and they definitely thought it was a pretty hard class and they were kind of struggling to keep up. So I think AP Seminar is a class that a lot of kids do in junior or senior year. But I think AAR is pretty simple, and I do have a couple sophomores in my class. So I think people do it all the way from like sophomore to senior year.
Okay, great. Kind of on that theme of kind of research and writing, let's dive into English and some of the options there. I think it really is junior and senior year where we start seeing more options, but maybe some of you could talk to that. And maybe we'll start actually with the seniors and come downwards. So there are a lot of really great electives in senior year. Maybe you guys can touch on some of those. Maida, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. So for my junior year, I decided to take AP Language and Composition. So it is an AP class, but I do think the workload is very manageable. I think in terms of AP classes go, I think it's kind of on the lower end in terms of how much effort and like not effort, but like homework time you have to spend outside of school. And then my senior year, I took humanity. I didn't want to do AP Literature because I just wanted to explore some of the electives, and I decided to do humanities my first semester, and I'm currently taking communications my second semester. To speak about humanities, it is one of our most popular English electives. It is a really great class. It is open to juniors and seniors. And I think you cover topics like metaphysics, love, you do all these, I feel like a lot of like, I feel like in the middle of the course, you kind of have an existential crisis about like society and what we are and what our purpose here is for, why we're here, and discuss religion in the context of society. And you have a lot of amazing conversations that I don't think you necessarily get to experience in any other English courses. I've only been 2 weeks in, not 2 weeks, but like I've only had a little bit of experience with communications, but so far it has been going pretty well for me. And I think I joined it. I think a lot of people there are very open. You don't have to be like a public speaker. You go to that class because you want to improve on your public speaking skills or because you want to become a better communicator. So it's a really an open and accepting class. But yeah, those were my two experiences with electives.
Okay. Any other electives in particular from senior year?
I would, like Maida said, humanities is amazing. I'm taking it right now. The teachers also, I think this year, it's usually Miss Park, and we were going to have another teacher this year. It just ended up being all Miss Park, and she's really amazing too. But just like regardless, like the course is like, I'm in the middle of it right now, and it's a lot of like making decisions and thinking about like life. And honestly, like making decisions are not my strong suit, but I love that class. It's really like pushing me out of my comfort zone and like really think about these type of things that like I generally avoid. And I love it so far. I mean, I've only taken it for like a month now, but it's still like amazing. And then first semester senior year, I took film comp because I love to watch movies. My mom and I watch movies a lot together, and I thought it was going to be a lot of like watching movies. I think that class changes depending on the teacher, because I've heard like other people had a different teacher and they were like reading more, like watching more like modern films or whatever. It was like a good movie. It was a lot of analyzing. It was a good, sorry, I said movie. It was a good class. It was a lot of analyzing movies, and you just like watch something and then have to write an analysis on it. It really depends if you like movies. I don't know. I thought it'd be like a lot of just like watching movies and like less having to like critique them. Because I know in journalism I had to do like movie reviews, and that was like the one thing I was like bad at in terms of like journalism, because like I just like blindly watch movies. So like also doing film comp was like a lot of critiquing. It helped with my movie review for journalism, but that was a good class too. Those are like, I think, I don't know about, I wanted to take sports lit instead, but I know they got rid of that this year. They might bring it back next, like depending on if we go back into school, because I think the whole issue was we couldn't do it online, but that was also an interesting, like it seemed interesting to take. So, and then my junior year, I also took AP Lang, like Nathan said.
Okay. Okay, AP Lang, any comments or what do other people do?
I would say that AP Lang is pretty easy for an AP class. It's just a lot of writing essays in like a style that we haven't really learned before, but the teachers right now, they're kind of spacing it out, so we don't really have to do that many timed writes. But I know on the AP exam, it's like 3 essays written in a short amount of time. So we are also getting prepared for that. But it's a pretty easy class for an AP, and compared to AP Lit, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, kind of to add to that, I'm in AP Lang right now, and then I think all the teachers are really like brilliant at Paly. And then one nice thing is that you do get a lot of freedom. Like typically the first semester focuses more on reading and analyzing other people's texts, whereas the second semester is more preparing you for the AP exam and focuses on your writing and improving your writing. But one thing I really liked was most of first semester, I got to select all of my own independent reading books. And I've never read really nonfiction before, but since it's a class that focuses on persuasive techniques and like rhetorical analysis, it was really interesting because typically middle school through 10th grade, all we do is analyze fiction.
I just wanted to add on to the nonfiction independent reading project that, like Aru said, was my first introduction into the world of nonfiction too. And I have to say that that project was probably the most memorable experience from AP Lang. Like now I look out for nonfiction books and I, purposely seek out to read that type of genre. And I enjoyed it so much that I actually wrote about it in my college applications. So it just had a very lasting effect on me.
I would say though that I think it depends on like how hard the class is depends on your teacher. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's the easiest AP, because I think I know some people that had a very hard teacher.
True enough, I think across many of our courses where we have multiple teachers. Let's change gears a little bit and move on to history. And maybe people can talk a little bit about push versus rush and any of the other sort of social studies and classes there. Maida, you want to go start?
Yeah, so I can talk about push because sophomore and freshman year, I think everybody takes the same exact history classes. So the difference occurs in your junior and senior year. I took push my junior year. Avantika, we were in the same class, so she can probably speak after me to this course specifically. But I think overall, it was probably one of the hardest classes I've taken at Paly. It does have that reputation of being a very difficult course, and it is, I'm not going to lie. But it was also one of...
do you feel like you need to study more?
Yes, I do think you do need to put in more effort for that class because you do have like daily quizzes about your previous night's reading. But I do think it was it was like the most fun class I've taken at Paly too. I learned so much during that class. It was hard, but it was totally worth it. And if I had a choice to take it over again, I totally would. It was a lot of work. It was stressful, but I learned so much. And the teacher is really great. He helps you. He's always there for you. If you ever go back during tutorial, he wants to see you succeed. And in the beginning of the class, he tells you, these are the skills you're going to need in order to succeed for my class. This is how the note taking process should be. So it's hard, but I think it's worth it. And if you enjoy and are passionate about history, then I think it's a class that you should definitely consider taking. It influenced me so much that I actually applied as a history major for several of my colleges. So
yeah, Maida took the words like right out of my mouth. My mom, whenever we meet underclassmen, she's always like, oh my God, push, because she saw me like just staying up late all the time, taking notes. My mom's like, nope, don't take push. But like, if you asked me, I would recommend it because it was a lot of work and like a lot of like, you can't really slack off in that class. You can't be like, I mean, there's like 2 opportunities for like do not count quizzes because Maida was talking about like how you're quizzed on the reading from the night before. But, like you really can't be like, oh, like I just got back from practice, I'm really tired. Like you got to do your notes. And even if you do like use the do not count quizzes and like slack off one day, it's just going to build up the next because you're going to have another chapter to read. And then at the end of the unit, you're going to have like all these chapters because you have to he'll randomly ask you to turn in notes. But Mr. Bungarden, the push teacher, is like amazing. And I think that like I've always liked history like my freshman year and sophomore year. And I was like, oh, I definitely could like use more of a challenge. And I knew it had a reputation going into that class. But like I said, like Maida said, Mr. Bungarden is like an amazing teacher. It was probably one of my favorite classes at Paly. And it's also one of that classes that shows you like the teacher can like make a difference too, honestly, because I would totally recommend that class. I had a lot of fun and it does have a reputation and it is pretty hard and it's very time consuming, honestly. But I would definitely take it. If also like you gotta like history. Like if you're a freshman and a sophomore and you're doing great in history but you don't like love it, don't take push. But if you do genuinely like history, I would really recommend it. That's just my opinion though.
So I kind of am looking at the clock, and I want to make sure that we hit math, some of the science classes, and get back to some of the fun arts things and talk about theater and music and all of those things. So that's what's coming up in that order. So let's dive into math.
You move on. I just wanted to say for social studies electives, I took sociology and ethnic studies, which are both semester long, and I would really recommend both of those classes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Emma. Yes, and a lot more choices open up in senior year. So, so let's dive into math a little bit. I think there were some earlier questions about the lanes and the difficulty. I think these are questions also that I would just caution families that you know, this is a very much an individual choice, and it's something that we can definitely hear from our students about their experiences. But when you're working with your student and your child, you know, reach out to the grade level counselor, reach out to the existing math teachers. They are probably going to help figure out what's best for your particular student as the best resources. So with that said, I know that families are looking at like sophomore year, junior year, those classes, algebra, you know, trig. Go ahead, somebody, maybe one of our juniors. Yeah, go ahead, Anisha.
So I will say I've been taking the honors math lane since freshman year, and I'll just say to any of the incoming freshman parents that just geometry honors is definitely a step up from any 8th grade math course that you took. Like honestly, going into it, I was not prepared, and like our entire class did really bad on the first couple of tests just because it was a huge step up from 8th grade math. And I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't take it because it was a great class and the teachers were really good, but it's definitely a step up and you do have to start working harder immediately from the beginning.
Yeah, kind of in middle school, I never really had to spend my own time studying for tests, but I think when we get into high school, it's really time when you need to set aside some time of your own to start like preparing for the test. Like just doing the review packet they give you might not be enough. Sometimes they might not even give you a review sheet that's exactly like the test, which was my experience in middle school. But I think yeah, looking at what Emma said in the chat, I know all the tests, like freshman year, the first test in both like geo and bio, which I took both honors, were kind of rough, but you can really easily work your way up to an A as long as you put the time in. I know each year after that gets like incrementally harder. Right now, Anisha and I are in analysis, and then that's quite a bit harder than geometry. But I think if you like math, it's good because it also opens up a number of possibilities for you science-wise. Like some of my friends did Algebra 2, Trig H, their freshman year, and then that meant they could take physics their sophomore year because they're interested in going into something like physics related. I would say analysis over distance learning, we definitely got it a lot easier than it would be in person, but it's still a very like conceptually it's very challenging.
Okay,
I think like one thing,
oh,
if we want to move on, that's totally fine.
No, sorry, who was speaking?
I was just going to speak upon the class a bit more. One thing about the H lanes is that I know I just took GeoH and Algebra 2 Trig H. One thing that's expected is that you apply what you learn in class to a higher level. So it's not necessarily just what you read in the textbook or just what you learn in class. You're expected to take that knowledge and know how to apply it to something different that you haven't seen before or something unfamiliar. And there's definitely like that expectation of having a higher level. As opposed to just more workload, it's just having that higher thinking and higher knowledge. And I think one thing about laning is that I think there is a lot of stigma about like laning down or anything like that, but I think in reality, it's really important to prioritize what you want to be focusing on. I think like some of the other students on the panel were talking about laning down, but I definitely think like you don't always have to check your grades, right? If you're doing well in the class, that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to stick with the honors lane. I mean, personally, I'm doing pretty well in Algebra 2 Trig H, but I know that I don't have a passion for math. So I know that when I'm doing course selection this year, I'm probably not going to take analysis because analysis, you definitely want to have, first of all, a passion for math for the future, but also a lot of commitment for that math class. And I think Matthew wants to speak upon this too.
Yeah, sure. So kind of coming from a different perspective, from someone who's, for lack of better words, terrible at math. I've always taken the grade level lane. So, Math 7, Math 8, Algebra 1, Geo, Algebra 2. I think that the biggest piece of advice that I can give is you just need to do what's right for yourself. There's a lot of focus here on the math lanes and kind of the stigma associated with, you just because you may not be in the highest math lane, doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad student. I think everyone has strengths in different subject matters. Like personally, I really enjoy English and history, but math and science are just not for me. So I think that I would just say, don't kind of give in to the intrusive thought that, even if math is really, really not your strength, that you have to take a higher level math class. If, it's not something that you kind of actively want to do or actively challenge yourself for, because it could just, lead to a bad situation academically. So yeah, that's what I would say. Just do what you feel, or do what you think feels best.
Absolutely, Matthew. Thank you so much for that. I'm gonna just move on just a little bit in the interest of
Can I
time.
just quickly say something about AP stats, because I see a lot of questions. So it's definitely a harder AP class than expected. A lot of people going into it just thought that it was basic calculator skills, but it is like a whole other math class. So it's basically like taking 2 math classes at the same time, and it requires the same amount of time and energy. So if you're very interested in math, it is an interesting class and you learn a lot of interesting things, but it definitely requires a lot of work.
Thank you. And thank you so much. And Matthew, thank you so much for that perspective about finding the path that's right for you. I think what's really exciting about our Palo Alto high schools, like both Paly and Gunn, is that we actually do have a large number of options in math. And I think you can find the path that's exactly right for you. Moving on to science. And there were very specific questions about Chem versus Chem H, also about AP Chem. And I didn't see the questions, but I know that they're out there about bio. So if somebody wants to touch on that a little bit.
So I took Chem my first semester, or Chem H, and then I leaned down to regular Chem. Chem H, or I enjoyed Chem a lot more because I liked my teacher a lot better and I just liked the classroom vibe, I guess. And I think I was also just like getting better sleep second semester, so it was a lot easier. But I think it really depends on the teacher. And I think, again, the same sentiment as with math. I think as a rule, if you like the subject, take the honors or the AP. And if it doesn't work out in the first few weeks, you can always drop.
Yeah, I will say I took Chem H my sophomore year, and like when I was choosing classes sophomore year, I heard from upperclassmen that like during Chem, like in like junior year, like the supposedly hard classes like I mean it is hard, A push up to like sophomore year, that was like Chem H. People were like, oh, I really had to like work my butt off to get a really good grade. I think you kind of do. I also had a new teacher. He wasn't that great. He got fired that same year because a lot of people complained on him. I won't say who, but like, so it was a little, I felt like it was a little more difficult for me because some other people had really good teachers, because I feel like the Chem H teachers were pretty like good. So I'd have to work really hard with that. I know my brother, he's a sophomore right now. He's currently taking Chem H. He's been doing really good. I don't know if that's because like online, I'm not sure how many like labs you can do, and really like it's probably really different. But I know like now people are saying that gone, or at least this year has been like a little easier for a lot of people than like when I was in Chem H. Just also quickly going off of bio, like I took Bio H. I really liked that class. I did really good my freshman year, and then I ended up taking AP Bio my junior year too. I wanted to take AP Bio and like AP Chem my junior year, but I was already taking eight classes, and like I'm a bio person. I'm gonna major in bio in college, and like I really liked AP Bio. Towards the second semester, it was really hands-on, and you got to work with like crickets, and like I've been looking at my photos from like a year ago, and we mated flies together, like fruit flies, which I thought was pretty fun, and I have all the pictures under the microscope. So if you really like bio, I heard from a lot of my friends AP Bio, because like I think going into junior year, a lot of my friends were like, I want to be a doctor, and like that's what I want to be too. But like if you don't really love bio, then like a lot of them at the end of that class were like, I hate bio. Like I'm never gonna be a doctor. I'm like totally done with the class. I just like liked it even more, and I've like that helped me like give me a better understanding of like what I want to do. And I was like, bio is definitely for me because like I really like that class. I did really good. So like again, I think it's just like you should start off like Emma said, like you can always start off if you think you really love the class, like start off with the AP or the honors, and you can always drop. Like that's always an option.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I know we didn't touch on physics, but I think that's, anybody want to touch on it really, really quick? Yeah, go ahead, Maida.
I can do it. Honestly, I really wish I didn't double up on my science classes. I have 3 regrets of high school: not taking speech and debate, not being involved in journalism, and taking bio and physics at the same time, or honestly taking physics honors as a class. It's not a bad class. It's just very, very difficult. And I think I just did not have a good experience with it. And I had much better experiences with chem and bio than I did with physics. Physics in general is a very difficult class. And I think was my last year, junior year. And I wouldn't recommend doubling up on science classes.
Okay.
So space yourself out and give yourself the time you need.
I know all of you guys have to go to class in a few minutes, so I just want to speed through a couple of things that I think are important. I'm glad you brought up speech and debate. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about team speech and debate, and if we could get into some of the music and theater after that. So team, Joanna, did you want to? Or who's, no, Sabrina and Avantika, if you guys could touch on team.
So team is, Avantika and I were in team together freshman year, but it's basically a group of students who are like, they have the same teachers, and you do activities together and you go on a lot of field trips, and they're really known for their field trips. You go to Yosemite, you go to Monterey, you go camping. It's kind of, I would definitely say it's really there to just build a community. And I think a lot of, like, if you don't, like, most students in freshman year take the same classes, so like if you get the chance, I would suggest going to team just because you get that extra community, especially since I came from JLS, I didn't really know that many people, so that really helped with like meeting new people. And after your freshman year, you can become a team leader, so this is where you like basically go back and you help the team students, and you like get to go on field trips with them.
Okay, great, thank you. I also, sorry, I completely forgot to also talk about, so let's move up next to early childhood development. And I'm sorry, I'm speeding through it, but these guys need to get to class in a few minutes. So, so Anisha, talk to us about childhood development.
Yeah, so I took early childhood development 1, and it is an honors class. There's an option for the honors class, which it means it's dual enrolled with Foothill, so you also get college credits. And there are now 3 child development classes offered at Paly, and I know that if you take all 3, you can get an assistant teaching credential by the end of high school. And these classes are really great. You get in-person experience. So we drove a bus to a preschool every day in class, and we got to just spend time with preschoolers. But I will say, I know not everyone likes working with kids. So this class is definitely, you have to have a passion for working with kids, because otherwise you're just not going to enjoy it. But it's a definitely great experience if you do like working with kids. And there are like 3 levels that you can go through.
Okay, perfect. Speech and debate. Does somebody want to talk about that experience? That's kind of another one of those really special things that we have at Paly, and a very strong team.
Yeah, I can definitely speak upon that. I've been in speech and debate for 2 years. I do debate and speech at Paly, so I have experience in both. If you want to ask any questions, I put my contact information in the chat. But for a quick summary, the thing with speech and debate is that you get out what you put in. Speech and debate definitely is a large commitment if you want to go all in. There are tournaments that are a lot of weekend commitment and a lot of after school commitment for research and for preparing for tournaments. So you definitely want to keep that in mind, but remember, what you put in is what you get out. If you only want to learn a little bit, improve in your public speaking skills, research skills, you don't have to put a lot of work into it. But one thing that I really love about speech and debate is how much growth that you see. You'll learn a lot of skills like research and argumentation, public speaking, which is really helpful for any other class. And I think it's a really great supplement just for your future and growing those type of skills. But I also think it's really great community-wise. Everyone speaking to Bay is very welcoming, and we're all really encouraging and trying to build each other up and help each other improve, which I think is really great.
Great, thank you. Switching gears again, moving fast, theater and music. Can somebody talk? I know Aru, you've been in band. Go for it.
Yeah, so I've been in band since I think 5th grade basically, but I think it's a lot of fun at Paly because typically in person we get to play both at the football games the first semester, and I'd never done like pep band before, but second semester we transitioned to more traditional concert band. There's also an honors band option that I'm in that's audition. You need to do a quick audition to get into, and then if you complete it you actually get honors credit. And I believe if you continue the course through like 11th grade, then 11th grade they give you a CTE option, so you can also get CTE credit from this course as well as visual performing arts.
Same choir.
I did pep band my freshman year because I did band in middle school and wanted to continue it for, also I needed the grad requirements. I had a lot of fun. I played the baritone and I got to go to be part of marching band when football season back pre-COVID was in swing, and I actually met Emma that way, so it's really fun.
It's a little different from middle school band though, just because of the teacher, so I don't know. It's another one of those things where you can take it and drop it if you don't like it. I mean, same with everything.
Anybody want to touch on theater?
I personally wasn't in a theater class, but I was in a stage tech class, and I think that it is something that I want to talk about. I joined stage tech in my freshman year, and it's definitely really great. It's an 8th class, which means you take it after school. So it would be on Mondays after school. And more than that, there was a lot of commitment for tech week and production week, and also when you're building. One really cool part about stage tech is that you get experience in both art and design. You get you can really choose anything. It's really creative, and you have a lot of space to learn. But one really fun part is the building. You get to build the sets and paint the sets, and you can go on weekends to paint, and it's just a really fun experience. You get to meet a lot of people in theater, which is really great. It is a lot of a time commitment because you do have to commit to the productions and the different tech weeks, but I think if you do it, it's a really fun thing to do in freshman year, and you also get your CTE credit, which is great.
Perfect. We have not talked about athletics. We have not talked about languages. So let's do languages first, and then we can talk about athletics. Yeah, Matthew, please.
Yeah, sure. So at least with language, what I have the most familiarity with is the French department. I took French 2 and then French 3 honors. French 2, coming in from middle school, was pretty manageable. I will say that the approach to languages, at least the French department at Paly, is very different than that of middle school. At least I found the middle school curriculum to be a lot more like interactive and personable, more conversational style. Whereas the French at Paly is more like traditional rote learning with like textbooks and tests and kind of that more scripted speaking. After French 2, I took 3 honors. 3 honors was a difficult course. It was definitely a step up from French 2. You just, I think I ended the semester with an A, but you have to really commit to putting work into a language class, which I don't think, and I put like some work into French 2, but French 3 honors was a lot more work than just your 2-level lane coming in from middle school. So yeah, so that's what I have to say on that aspect of it.
Great, thank you. Anybody want to touch on any language? Somebody mentioned Chinese is actually phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm taking AP Chinese right now. I took Chinese 4 last year, and if any of you are curious, there is a test that you can take to skip levels, and I think if you want more information on that, you can check the Paly.net website for world languages. Definitely jumping some levels, especially if you're experiencing that language, is really helpful because it allows you to fill your language credit a little earlier, so you have more space in your junior and senior year. I would just like to say, yes, the teachers for the Chinese courses are great. They're all really helpful, and they're always there to allow you to succeed. I think specifically for Chinese 4 and AP Chinese, I hadn't taken Chinese in middle school before, but I took it an immersion program in elementary school. It definitely is more accelerated, and there is a lot of preparation, especially in the AP course, a lot of preparation for the AP tests, like the cultural presentations or writing stories or just doing practice tests. And I definitely think it is a lot of work, but if you want to skip ahead, especially if you had experience in Mandarin before, it is a really good experience to get your language credit out of the way.
Great, thank you so much. Oh,
Did you want me to talk about Spanish, or if we're running out of time, that's fine.
It's already 9:31, and so technically we're already out of time, but I do want to touch really quickly on athletics. I mean, literally half of our school typically is involved in some sort of team. So does somebody want to just touch on that? I know this has been a very unusual year in the past, and there are a lot of things that we still need to work out and figure out for the coming months, but still, any comments? Yeah.
Really quickly, I swim on the Paly swim team. I really enjoyed it. It's a really great experience. I know a lot of people have it's just really a lot of people get involved in athletics because there's always track, cross country. I actually wanted to join track this year. And I might be able to because swimming is this season and track is not. I think cross country is, but sports like track, get involved because it's no cut. People really like it. They go. It's a huge team. Obviously, it's different this year because you can't have that many students there, and track is a lot of students, but I know a lot of my friends will just do it for fun to get in exercise and team building, meeting other kids, because a lot of Paly kids do sports all the time, and so I'd really recommend getting involved in one of our sports, even if you're not super into sports. Do track or cross country or something.
Did anybody else want to?
Oh, just real quickly, I do cheer, and I think cheer and dance are kind of a different category for sports. Both the cheer and dance team compete regionally and nationally, and you also get to perform at football and basketball games. So I think that's really fun. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
I actually kind of wanted to spend the next couple of minutes talking about finding your own path at Paly, because I think I, as a parent, at least what I remarked on when my daughter was first a freshman is all the other things you can do besides school at Paly. And many of you are a part of student government. Many of you have started clubs or have been part of clubs. There's just so much stuff going on outside of the 7-period schedule or the 8-period schedule. So do one of you guys want to just talk about that?
I think one thing I learned as a freshman is just try as much as you can. It's your first year there, and meet new people. I guess it does seem overwhelming, but especially with the smaller workload and less pressure, you want to take the chance to try out anything that you find interesting. And I think jumping into those opportunities, I definitely wish I would join different things just to try them out, and especially different clubs. And just don't be afraid to try new things. And I think that's really important because you'll find what you stick with and find what you like. And then when you go into the next years, you'll see that, oh, I want to stick with this. I want to pursue this. And I think just giving yourself space for discovery is really important, especially in freshman year.
Yeah. I think giving your space for discovery is important all throughout. I'm in my senior year, and I joined 2 clubs that I had never joined before. One's called American Exchange Project, and I get to FaceTime with people from Massachusetts and talk about our lives and how they're similar and different. It's super fun. And then I'm in another one called Fast Fashion Awareness, and that's been pretty fun because we just talk about thrifting and shopping and how we can reduce our environmental impact. And then BSU, there are a lot of cultural clubs that you can get involved in too. You don't know whether you want to be an ally or just want to be involved. I think that's good. And I think just a good life perspective to have, just explore anything at any time.
Anybody else want to talk about how they made their Paly experience their own? And
Joining ASB changed my Paly experience probably, but that's just because I like that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right.
I want to say there's a lot of competition at Paly, and you always feel like you're like trying to compare yourself with other people. And I definitely feel that, and I think the other panelists feel that as well. So I definitely just say, like, do what you love, you know, like don't like just because, and like if something like you know is gonna make you stressful but you're just taking it for like an honors or AP's credit, don't do it. Like in the long run, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. And there's so many awesome classes that at Paly, so really just try it out. Don't go the traditional path, you know.
And I guess like one last thing that I wanted to say is that I think Emma said this in the chat before, but in middle school, I don't think I ever got a grade below a B, but then I started high school and then I started getting C's and D's in several of my classes. But know that it's okay. You don't have to like get all A's. And you know, some of my end of the year grades recovered from those C's and D's and some of them didn't. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed what I was learning. I had fun. So I think that was a good experience to have. I think when I got my first D, I came home crying and my mom was like, it's fine, but I was just so upset about it. But I think it's good to have that resilience and you really do build it, and know that it's okay, you'll be fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially in like freshman year, even in like math, your first grades can come as a shock to you, but like don't let that phase you and just like keep working through it and do what you love.
Okay, I'm gonna take that as a kind of final comment. I see in the chat somebody, Joanna, posted about the course selection fair that's happening at Paly for existing students on Tuesday at lunch. I welcome you guys. Anybody on this call knows how to reach me. You can always submit your questions to me, and I will track down an answer for you. So thank you to each and every one of our amazing panelists today. That was really great. And I really, really appreciate, all of us really, really appreciate you guys taking time out. I think you have 3 minutes to get to class. So thank you. And a recording of this session will be posted on the Paly PTSA website. Thanks.